Hey guys, Jack on Wrist here, back with another video, and in today's video I want to discuss some news. This particular news regards one of the top players within the watch industry and some of the changes that they're making, in my opinion, to address basically all of their major flaws. So to give you some more detail, today we're talking about Grand Seiko, and specifically about a news article that just released by Hodinkee interviewing the Seiko president, and in that particular interview, the president basically addressed every major problem that Grand Seiko is facing as a company and how they're addressing it. And again, in my opinion, this is going to be just a absolutely huge positive move for them as a company. Based on what I read in this article, I really think that Grand Seiko is positioning themselves to become a top 3 player in watches, if they aren't already, and really going to be competing nicely with the Rolexes and the Omegas of the world. So without further ado, let's go ahead and just discuss what exactly was talked about in this particular interview and article made thereafter. And so basically the first thing that they talked about, which was a huge flaw of Grand Seiko, is their bracelets, and more specifically micro adjustments. I've owned about 4 or 5 Grand Seikos at this point, and they all suffered from the exact same problem, a problem that you guys probably have dealt with if you have owned one of your own. And basically that is the lack of on-the-fly adjustment or even a micro adjustment really at all. And you can imagine this is a pretty big deal for Grand Seiko, especially because they are in the luxury watch space. I mean, there really isn't any other luxury brand that is producing bracelets with their watches that doesn't have either on-the-fly or micro adjustments. Obviously you have brands like Rolex, who I think really do micro adjustment and on-the-fly adjustment extremely well, but you also have brands like Omega who have that in a lot of their watches, and even most recently implemented it in their Omega Aquaterra, a model that didn't have it for a long time. And as someone who is spending thousands of dollars on a luxury watch, that is pretty much the least I would expect. I would want some form of micro adjustment. Of course, on-the-fly adjustment would be preferred as well. And so this is just a huge move for them, because it looks like they've really acknowledged this mistake on their part, a design flaw, and they're looking to acknowledge it in a way that's going to fix it going forward. The Seiko president specifically mentioned that they don't have an exact timeline on when this is going to be coming out with their pieces, but it is on the horizon, and that is really, really exciting for Grand Seiko fans. The next major piece of news coming out of this interview and article is a huge course correction for Seiko and Grand Seiko, which is the idea of them using less total SKUs. So it seems they're going to be lowering the total amount of different models that they have within their catalog, which is just really exciting news for myself at the very least. I personally was of the belief that their catalog was a little too confusing, and they didn't really build off of established models that they already had, but instead were kind of building off of them and then also creating new models. And I thought they really should have taken a page out of Rolex's book in having really defined models that you can build a name off of and make them really recognizable. So this is really exciting for me. Again, personally, this is a move that I think makes a lot of sense if you're trying to appeal to a wider audience of watch fans. At the end of the day, we all know the Rolex Explorer, the Milgauss, the Submariner, etc., etc. We all know what Rolex has going on in their catalog. It's fairly simple. They don't really innovate a ton, in my opinion, within making new models, which is certainly a flaw I want to acknowledge, but they really have a core collection of watches that are really recognizable even to a casual watch fan, and I think that's something that Grand Seiko in this move is really looking to do. Obviously it's probably a bit of an unfair comparison talking about Grand Seiko right next to Rolex, but again, just conceptually I really think this makes sense to do, again, if you're trying to appeal to a wider audience. And before we keep going, I want to mention that I will be leaving this article in the description below. I think it's a really great interview, and really cool to see a lot of humility on the part of the Seiko president and really acknowledging the weaknesses of the company and how they could potentially change it going forward. Another absolutely huge pain point for me that they're going to be changing, or at least they say they're going to be changing, is limiting the amount of limited editions that are currently out there. Another huge pain point for me as a fan of Grand Seiko that they acknowledge in this particular article and interview is the fact that they're going to be lowering the amount of limited editions that they produce. This kind of gets lumped into the previous category of different SKUs that they're producing. I think similarly it's very confusing as a consumer to see a lot of limited editions and anniversary editions for watches, and it's just kind of hard to follow the action. It feels like every week they're producing some form of new limited edition, and I talked about that in the past a little bit in previous videos, and I'm just not a big fan of it. I could be wrong here, and I would really love to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section down below, but I'm just not a huge fan of the massive catalog with tons of limited editions. But again, let me know in the comment section down below what you you think. And the last major takeaway I got from this particular article was talking about how they're looking to potentially change their design language away from a focus on nature. And I do not claim to be a Grand Seiko hater at all. I love their design language. I've owned, like I said, about 4 or 5 Grand Seikos at this point. You know, I'm certainly on the Grand Seiko fan wagon, but I personally do think you can have cool and beautiful watches that are getting a little stagnant at the same time. I just think Grand Seiko does such amazing and different things within the watch world, and I would love to see them kind of go a different direction, you know, apply that art and that science of what they're doing to their current watches and their current dials, and, you know, making amazing pieces, and again, translating it into a different style, and then let's just see how it works. You know, I really think that they are in a win-win situation here. They're always going to create a quality watch, and let's just see it be a little different than what they're currently doing. With those major changes, I really think Grand Seiko is positioning themselves to really take over into a top spot within the watch world and potentially be even as popular as a Rolex, as an Omega, if they're not already there. You know, I think they certainly have really done a lot for themselves in the past 10 years or so, but they're really, again, on fire, especially if they really go through with these changes. But that's pretty much it for this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you think these changes would really elevate Grand Seiko as a brand? Do you think they're perfect the way they are now? Let me know in the comment section down below. I would love to discuss it with you. And if you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you can give this video a like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.